Hi there. I feel like it's been a while, but hasn't really. And don't mind this little puffiness. Got some eye gunk I'm working through. I just want to give you a little update on the chicks and a little on the chicken coop. But first, let's weep the loss of this watermelon. My only hope in this patch was this ambrosia, but alas, it was nipped at the stem, and so this tiny ambrosia is no more. It could have been something. We'll try again next year. And the rest of the plants are just chugging along. So next year, the soil here should be better suited for their survival. But all is not lost. This sugar baby, nicely protected and out of the elements of soil and ground vermin, is looking very nice. It's a good size already, and I don't think it's anywhere near ready yet. The tendril, if that's an indicator, is still very green. The plant is still very green. So that is a mini watermelon. And then I have high hopes for this Haley's Best Jumbo, which is a cantaloupe. I do want to put something under it to keep any bugs from eating it from the bottom up while I'm not looking. I thought there were others. They were tiny, tiny. See, I don't know. This is a tiger melon. I don't know if they'll have enough time to. There's a few of them. Let me see. They're getting nibbled down there. I don't know. There should be more. I don't know if they'll have enough time to ripen. And let's check out the chicks. They are 3 weeks old. They have all survived. And I've had to. It's always something to configure when something new comes along. So for a little while, like the first week and a half, I had this laundry basket as a window well. So it was covering up the hole. This is one of the egg spaces. And then on the inside, I have it screened off from the rest of the flock. For a minute, I had a screen also from here down, and then I had the netting over, so they had space. Well, it was mostly for Mama because I can have her in that little space, poor thing. So they had this 5 foot span, 4 foot span to go back and forth, and I could feed them, and that worked out for a little while. But I knew they needed to get outside. Oh, plus they were giving me a scare because they were disappearing on me. So one evening I came through and there was no mama, there were no chicks. It was dark already, so things were in shadows. And I was freaking out, but I couldn't figure out where could they have gone. I was looking everywhere. And finally I thought to open up the other egg hutch. And that's where she was. But she only had, well, I didn't know how many chicks she had at the time. But I opened up this one, and then I saw there were 2 chicks left in there. I'm like, oh crap. So she only had gotten somehow 6 chicks to the other side. But I could not figure out how they did it. So I put them back into the original. They were fine for a day. And then the next day it happened again. I put them back. And then the next day it happened again. And then this time, the 2 chicks that could not figure out how to get out and join the others finally did. And so they were basically crawling like sideways, like Spider-Man, crawling up on the mesh wire, up through the opening and then getting out and then finding their mom. So I knew it was time to get them out. So I couldn't figure out at first. what was I going to do? How was this going to work out? At first, I put them, oh yeah, I put them in with the rest of the flock at first, thinking, not thinking. I'd done this before in the past and I knew it didn't work. That was a smaller space, so I thought this was space may have been big enough that she could protect them and keep them away from the flock. But this doofus here was was not minding his business, so I was not secure that the chicks would be secure. And it wouldn't be to hurt them necessarily, but because he is stronger and more forceful, they would be hurt if they were ever pecked, even if the intention was not to hurt them. So I spent like 2 hours watching over them to make sure they didn't get hurt before nighttime, and then putting them away again. So that prompted this whole thing, and I was going to put like wiring over here. I didn't know what to do. But then I remembered we still had this baby gate for the win. And then I already had used this inside as the roofing for what I had done there. So that is the current roofing. It is shady here with all the trees, so they get dappled sun. And then they can get food. At first, I was putting the water outside, which is fine, but they figured out how to get in and out so that I can leave the water up there, and it's less likely to get um, more dirt on it from the chickens kicking up stuff. So this has worked out really well. I mean, it's a little bit of a pain trying to get to the food and the eggs, but it's a small price to pay for them being outside, free ranging. You can throw them all the weeds and the bugs they can get, and they're learning to forage, and they still can see the big chickens on the other side, so they're familiar. So once they're big enough to join the flock, it won't be a great big terribleness. And then my kids can come in here and also be with the chicks and pet them, and it's all very secure. And she's been a great mama. She doesn't mind the people, and it's been awesome. All right, and then I've been working on the wood chips, so I got a whole pile in here for the winter. I've also dragged some logs in here and some branches just to give them something of interest to do. Plus, there's always runoff back there, so I'm trying to just pile more matter. So that's a work in progress. But what has been a finished work in progress is a working gutter system. Ugh, I'm on the inside, so this is really hard to film. But my husband installed the gutter. So now I have water going in to the IBC that is feeding their water. So there was a large rainstorm, I don't know, a week ago, and then another smallish one a day ago. So we have about a third filled, or maybe a quarter. And I wouldn't fill this more than halfway. So this gives unending supply, unless we have a drought, for the chickens. And then I have a splitter here so that I can water the garden downhill, which is fantastic. And then I could use this to water the garden. That's about 100 feet or so in that direction. So that was the final really leg of the main project that had to be done with the chicken coop. So I'm so happy that that's done. There's a filter for the leaves up there, and then I have a filter for any smaller particles right there. I try to clean that out. I mean, ideally, I would like to flush out the roof. I don't know if you can see all the leaves Definitely a lot of leaves, so I come through periodically, clean out the filters. So it's better to get a flush of the material on the roof and then get less sediments inside the tank. It was a process to get them out here to begin with. Um, yeah, getting a mom to them because I wanted them to be raised by a chicken versus me indoors. So there were two broody hens, and so I picked what turns out to be the more flighty one first. So I had put the chicks in here. It was nighttime, and then I went and picked up the broody chicken mama, and it was a light one. And I picked her up and I put her down, or I tried to put her down. Then she started freaking out, so I put her back, and then I picked up mama number two. I put her down. She immediately took to the chicks, and all was well after that. But that was super nerve wracking because those few seconds feel like an eternity when you don't know if the mom's gonna accept them or hurt them in any way. But luckily, and she's been the broodiest the longest, so it all worked out. And then a few days after the chicks, that other broody mama finally quit her broodiness. She's been being broody for too long as it is. So I'll be glad when this whole setup is done again in a couple, I don't know, 6 weeks. So another 3 weeks of this, 7, 14, 21 days. But luckily it's, just September. It's a little chilly in the shade, I have to admit. I don't like it. But it's not so cold that it's unbearable to be out here. So but by the time fall rolls around, they will be in with the flock and in with the big coop. Uh oh, the egg song has begun. So I'm getting out of here because it's not my favorite sound. Well, here's a look at some of the ripening tomatoes while we're here. I've lost about a dozen to what I attribute to slugs. They bore holes in there and ruin the plant. A few, mainly the San Marsanos, only like less than a half dozen so far have had blossom end rot. But it was the San Marsanos continually are susceptible. The opal have not, and the opal have been doing really well, much better than the San Marzano. But the San Marsanos are a lot bigger than the opals. They are also taking forever to ripen. And also all my heirlooms, my bigger tomatoes are taking forever to ripen. I've only had three, like two Dr. White G's and one Black Creme and one other unknown have ripened. But they're on their way finally. This is the Black Creme. And some of these are starting to color up. I think this is a German green. I figured, yes, that's a green tomato because it's smushy already. I haven't been able to figure out which one because everything was staying green. And another plant that didn't like the summer being so cool is the okra. I've only had like two of these plants, and I have 3, 6, 9, 12, and only two have produced a couple of spears. The rest of the plants are just growing, and they look healthy and everything, but they're not fruiting as well as they could. The eggplant have done fine in this weather so far, and we still have plenty of hot weather. So the little fingers have done great. I've gotten a few of the black beauties. The pepper finally started to color. So I got, oh, it hasn't been attacked by, I really think it's slugs. I mean, I don't understand what else is making these holes in everything. Plus it's slimy looking, so it has to be slugs. Um, Labeling. I thought I had paprika peppers, but I have not seen which ones are paprika. So that's really weird because I thought I labeled really well. But I think this is the ancho poblano. And so those are doing well. These look like it's ready to be harvested. I believe this is jalapeno, which is also looking good. Those okra experiments are still up and alive. And then I have my fall sown beets in these buckets. And they are growing well, keeping them under wraps, protecting them from the slugs. Then I've also sown some spinach, but they haven't come up yet, so we'll see if those survive. It's really hard to plant directly any seeds. So here's where I have spinach seeds planted, but time will tell if any of them make it to the surface. And the last thing I'll end on is the peas. Fall peas are doing really well. I'm keeping them under cover for a little bit longer because I had to reseed this end because none of the peas on this end have come up. So I'm going to give this a chance. I see a few now coming up from the new seeds. So I'll give this area a chance to come up and then I can pull up because they're going to start getting tangled up and then they'll just be destructive to pull them. But yeah, so I'll have fall peas. I'm so excited. All right, that video was a lot longer than I expected, but that's where we are at. We're at the end of August. So we'll have a September tour coming up in a little bit. It's been mentally stressful this August, like last August. It's been mentally stressful, not so much physical. But school's gonna start, and then we'll be able to wind down, set up our new routines, and hopefully enjoy the fall garden. All right, I hope you're all doing well. I will talk to y'all again soon. Bye.